controller of the processor. But the controller and the processor both shall designate a DPO, so a data protection officer, in any case, in 3 situations. The first situation is very important in practical. The first situation is that the processing is carried out by a public authority or body. The processing is carried out by a public authority or body, except for courts acting in their judicial capacity. But you have to know that this first situation is not easy to apply, and in fact it's not easy to apply, especially concerning the situation of France. What for? Because I said so. The processing is carried out by the public authority as some administrative structure, and in France we have something special that we have in France more than 35,000 of public authority and most local authority. And the GDPR, you can see, don't look at the size of the public authority or body. The obligation is for all of them. Or, as we said, we have 35,000. We have some local authority, the few, the littlest, that contains about 100 persons, only not more. And so even in this case, the obligation to carry out a DPO is applied. So it's a kind of problem that drive this obligation particularly difficult to apply. Second situation where the controller processor shall designate a DPO. Second situation, this is a situation where the core activities of the controller, or the processor consist of processing operation. The core activities of the controller or the processor consist of processing operation which, by virtue of their nature, their scope, and their purposes. So the core activity of the controller processor consists of processing operation which, by virtue of their nature, their scope, and or their purposes, require regular and systematic monitoring of data subjects. Require regular and systematic monitoring of data subjects on a large scale. Require regular and systematic monitoring of data subjects GPO is designed for. This is the situation of where the core activities are the same as the first of the previous one, of the controller, of the processor. The core activities of the controller or the processor consist of processing on a large scale of spatial categories of data, on a large scale of spatial categories of data, and two, personal data relating to criminal convictions, and offenses refer. During this time, what are the tasks of the DPO? What are the tasks of the DPO and why, finally, it must be created for? I was talking about a few times that it was an advisory mission. This is the bottom of his mission. So, the following task is first, the DPO inform and advise the controller and the processor, He inform and advise the controller, processor, and the employee and the employees who carry out processing of their obligation, advise the controller or the processor and the employees who carry out processing of their obligation, pursuant to this regulation, carry out processing of their obligation, pursuant to this regulation, and to other EU or state member. When I say this regulation, of course, this is the GDPR, and other EU or data member, or member states, state member, other EU or state member data protection provisions. And the second tasks of the DPO is that the DPO shall have the task to monitor, compliance with the GDPR, and with the policies of the controller, or processor in relation to the protection of personal data, the controller or processor in relation to the protection of personal data, including the assignment of responsibilities, the assignment responsibilities, awareness raising and training of staff involved, awareness raising and training of staff involved in processing operations. And the related audits. So, said awareness raising and training of staff involved in processing operations and the related audits. Of course, there is other tasks. Shortly, I can resume the three other tasks of the DPO. In few words, the three other tasks are to provide advice, what I said, to cooperate with the CNIL in France, so largely considered to cooperate with the supervisory authority. So first, to provide advice. Second, to cooperate with the supervisory authority. And third, to act at the contact point, to act as the contact point for the supervisory authority. To act as the contact point for the supervisory authority on issues relating to processing. But really it's largely considered, because it's not only relating to processing as itself, it's included to be consult in any matter linked with the data protection law. What we can say about the level or diploma. In fact, it's easy. It's easy because the GDPR just wants that the DPO has followed a data protection law course. And only that has followed the data protection law course. And of course, in France, the CNIL, but either in the supervisory authorities of Europe. So, in France, as an example, there is an online course. There is an online course created by the CNIL, which it had been possible to follow, and it's enough to prove that the DPO can be as a DPO. It's enough. we can see, of course, in this case, that the obligation seems to be, in fact, not heavy, but the obligations are so important to be a DPO that, in fact, people that become it as follow important courses to do it. Few words to finish this theme, theme 3. Few words. I remember it was I said Friday that it's short theme. Few words about the DPO as a lawyer. Of course, I was talking about data protection law, but the DPO are not only busy by a legal profession. You can have some engineer who can become DPO. But in fact, that we see in France with about 10 years of applying of the DPR, that we can see is that the non-lawyer DPO become rare. A major part of the DPO have a master's degree in law. Major part of the DPO have a master's degree in law, and that include a special case. That include the special case of the lawyers, of the advocates. And so what? The institutions, the national institutions of the advocates, of the bar, easily, of the bar, have created a specialty to allow the lawyers and to allow the advocates to become, for part of their job, for part of their job, DPO. And I know, of course, I know some of them, some advocates. There was specialized before in IPIT, generally speaking, and now they are only DPO, but they stay in the bar, but are only DPO. So it's really, even for the lawyers and advocates, it's really a new job in the job, in fact. And in this time, of course, there is a question about the compatibility of the rule of the bar and the job of DPO. And for that, the national internal rules of the bar, the national internal rules of the bar in France include some article become DPO. And on this point of view, it's not so different to become DPO as a lawyer. Not so different than become a DPO without being lawyer. As an example, the lawyer, DPO, must be mandated within the framework of the missions, defined below, not at all. Must be mandated within the framework of the missions, defined below. As another example, the lawyer must, in any communication, ensure respect for the essential principle of the profession. The lawyer must, in any competition, ensure respect for the essential principle of the profession, state their capacity, and allow their identification, location, and allow their identification, location, contact, knowledge of the bar, to which they are registered, knowledge of the bar which they are registered, and some other obligation that I won't review easily because that concerned essentially the national rules of the bar. So that, in fact, there is a new field of activity for the lawyers, and of course the point of interest for the lawyers to become DPO is especially the question of being a lawyer. So it includes that in fact the lawyer can follow the question if the case become judicial. I saw a question, sorry, I don't have answer before. I was said that, Professor, what else can be a DPO when what has knowledge and skill rating need to have? In fact, if we relate it to the question of the CNIL formation, the knowledge are basis. To remember, I think it was about 20 hours necessary to be a DPO, seen from the point of view of the CNIL, of our national authority. As an example, the course I do with you is quite the same that the course in 24 hours that I do with my French students in fourth year and first year of master. and the curse in French, of course, is enough for them to be DPO. And I think, even for you, 20 hours are not enough, of course. But it lets the students in situation to be informed by the creations of the data protection law, and in this case we can consider that it's judge enough to be informed of the case, but it's quite just, of course. Okay, have you other question about the theme 3 that we have finished in this case? Okay, if not, so at the time of our course, you know that we have 2 hours and a half later in December. We have still 2 hours today. I think that we do 2 more things. The first of the 2 that I will begin now, in few moments now, is the 4th theme about the sanctions regime. Because it's very important to ensure planning of GDPR. And the last that we'll do, not today of course, but next time, during the time left, will be about the question of the data transfers toward state team. Oh, I think somebody want to salute you. Hello everyone, how are you?
Hello, yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay.
I thought that I miss you, really. Thank you for all your kindness. You see, take the camera with me. It's very useful because here it's a bit cold, but it's very useful. Thank you very much.
I miss you too, Professor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to know Tom. I can see
Yes, thank you.
I can see some earth on the screen.
This is winter season, right, Professor?
Yes, exactly. So when I came back in Paris, it was almost 0 degrees. It was very cold.
This morning, yeah.
Yes, here also.
This morning 0 too.
But in Paris it was worse. Really. I was said no, I want to go back to Tampere.
Well, nice to see you again, and please take care, Professor. Thank you.
I know, thank you.
So we'll be next year.
Yes, next year. And if you have some question, if you want to give some news, do not hesitate, please. So I leave you back to the course of history. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Later. Merci. Tu peux fermer la porte par contre, c'est ouvert sur toi. Allez, ça va, à plus. Okay. When I said in that I was in online class with you today, Professor Moran say I will hardly come as soon as possible, and so you can see you can trust it because he's coming. So one of the 2 themes that we finish the course. The first of the 2, the theme 4, is about the sanctions regime. I can say sometimes I can do that to help you a little bit with some message that can help you a little bit follow the course. In fact, from its inception, From its inception, the personal data protection regime, was designed to allow any individual alleging a breach of their rights by a data controller, any individual alleging a breach of their rights by a data controller, to have those rights protected, through the intervention of the CNIL, of the French Data Protection Authorities. Through the intervention of the CNIL, ensuring the effectiveness of personal data protection, is fundamental objective of the regulation. Ensuring the effectiveness of personal data protection is a fundamental objective of the regulation. And that's why the CNIL, as the other data protection authorities, the CNIL investigates, instructs, and also sanctions, behaviors that violate personal data protection. And also sanctions behaviors that violate personal data protection. This sanctions regime is an administrative sanctions regime. The sanction regime is an administrative sanction regime. But of course, furthermore, one of the criteria for the fundamental nature of the right of data protection, furthermore, one of the criteria for the fundamental nature of the right to personal data protection, you remember we were talking about, when I was talking about the theme of the data fundamental protection as a fundamental right, one of the criteria of this nature is the existence of a judicial protection mechanism but the administrative sanctions regime is defined by the EU law in the GDPR. The administrative sanctions regime is defined by the EU law in the GDPR. judicial protection mechanism are not. Are not because they are under the competence of the state members. Under the competence of the state members. Because the law to judicial is not a matter of EU law. It's not a matter of EU law. It stays as a national competence. So in fact, you don't have to be surprised of the following. The two types of sanctions, administrative in the one hand, judicial in the other hand. The two types of sanctions can be cumulated in the single case to punish a single case. And it had been admitted by the European Court of Justice, the CJEU, by the Court of Justice, in a sentence of 2023. In a sentence of 2023. Well, the first thing that we're going to study on this theme in the first section is the question of the administrative sanction regime, of course, which is the first and the most important question that we want to notice now, to see now. So, the administrative sanction regime, first point is to know the different forms of oversight, exercised by the CNIL. What are the different forms? There is a prior oversight. The prior oversight, it was under the previous regime. So I'm not talking too much a lot. But it stayed today. It stayed today when the proceeding is under an authorization regime. When it's under an authorization regime, when no authorization have been taken. for apply of this regime, the power is given to punish, to pronounce sanction. The power is given to the restricted committee of the CNIL. Restricted committee of the CNIL, we see that this committee has to follow such as a judicial proceeding, as an example, it's an adversarial procedure. It's an adversarial procedure where all the parties can defend against the pursuit intended by the CNIL. At this time, before the GDPR and before the law of June 2018, before the GDPR and before the law of June 2018, the amount of the financial penalty was proportionate to the seriousness of the breaches committed. And the benefits derived from the breach, not the beach, no. The seriousness of the breaches committed and the benefits derived from the breach. But you have to know, with this previous regime, the sanctions have low amounts. As low amounts because the rule was the following: in case for the first breach, it may not exceed 150,000 euro. For the first breach, it may not exceed 150 euros. It must be about $180,000 today. Maybe we have to see the exact conversion between euros and dollars, but I think it's about $180,000, no more. So, first of all, what we can say, it's very low, because this sanction, I say, maybe this truth of St. John can be applied at any controller, who didn't respect, not the GDPR, I said we are before the GDPR, who didn't respect the directive 95/46. Remember, this is the previous text in EU law. As an example, I can give you some example as a deliberation of the 3 January 2014 of the CNIL. Deliberation of 3 January 2014 of the CNIL, who imposing a 150,000 fine to Google. But what is 150,000 euros fine for a company such as Google, which at the size of Google? It's nothing. It's a flight of a flight. It's nothing. It was not persuasive, in fact. As another example, a deliberation of 2017, the GDPR has been taken, but it was not totally applied. Because remember, at first class we said that it was totally applied since the 25 May of 2018. So 2018, not 2017. So this deliberation of the CNIL, of the restricted committee, of course, of the CNIL of 2017, imposing a financial penalty on Facebook and Facebook Incorporation and Facebook Ireland, I say Facebook simply, simplified, imposing a financial penalty on Facebook of, again, 150,000 euros fine. As well, what is 150,000 euros fine for Meta? It's nothing. Sure, the French law announced that in case of a repeated breach within 5 years, from the date on which, in case of the breach within the 5 years from the date on which the previous imposed financial penalty became final, which the previously imposed financial penalty became final, the penalty is over 150,000. The penalty is over 150,000 fine. But it may not exceed 300,000. Or, in the case of a company, in the case of a company, 5% of the turnover 5% of the turnover, excluding taxes of the last closed financial year. 5% of the turnover, excluding taxes of the last closed financial year, up to a maximum of, one more time, up to a maximum of $300,000 euros. Up to a maximum of 300,000 euros. So you can see these are modest amounts in the face of characterized violations, in the face of characterized violations of personal data protection, by increasingly large companies. That's why, of course, the previous regime has been changed by the GDPR. Of course, there was some sanctions of another nature. As the publicity surrounding the sanctions imposed by the CNIL. Of course, too, there's even talk of reputational risk, with the image of a sanctioned company, we might be severely degraded because public opinion. We might be severely degraded because public opinion sensitized because public opinion sensitized to the issue of personal data protection. But in fact, they are non-legal. They are non-legal sanctions. And that drives not too far for the companies. So because of these derisory fines, because of that, because of those derisories fines, it was modified in the GDPR. It was modified in the GDPR. So the second point was about now oversight procedures by the CNIL. The oversight procedures by the CNIL. There is 3 points, in fact, concerning these procedures. The first one is the internal oversight procedure. The internal oversight procedure. This is an oversight procedure initiated. This is an oversight procedure initiated solely by the CNIL at the national level. At the national level, in cases where the violation of personal data protection, does not exceed the French territory. The French territory. This oversight procedure, is based on broad investigative powers. The ability of the CNIL services to exercise on-site control, but investigative powers, the ability of the CNIL services to exercise on-site control through a visit to the premises, and important thing to remember, since the GDPR, the premises that can be subject to control, are no longer necessarily professional premises. The premises that can be subject to control are no longer necessarily professional premises. In this way, the CNIL may make some announced visit regime, announced visit regime. So there are investigations by CNIL agents. The agents have large powers. But whatever the controller visited control visit have the right to oppose the visits. Have the right to oppose the visits to the CNIL agents. Have the right to oppose the visit to the CNIL agents. But in this case, the control term which lead of a judicialization of the exercise of the right of visit. Of the right of visit. And then there is a proceeding in front of a judge. That is, in France, it's a judge of liberties. There's a proceeding in front of a judge about the question of the visit. The visit and the lawfulness of the right of opposition. Of the right of opposition. And if the judge allows the visit, judiciary of course, in this case, if the judge allows the visit, the visit is, despite this point, under judicial control. Under judicial control. As I said, the reason of this control, or maybe I won't say the right to opposite, the right of opposition, is because of the large powers. Because of the large powers of the CNIL agents. Of the large power of the CNIL agents, whatever the control has been announced or not. Whatever the control has been announced or not, because as you can see, the public agent, the CNIL agents can visit, announce in a way to be announced. So what they can do? They can request communication of all documents necessary for the accomplishment of their mission, all documents necessary for the accomplishment of their mission, regardless of the medium, and make copies. Regardless of the medium, and make copies. They may collect, in particular on site or by summons, they may collect in particular on site or by summons. Any information and justification useful and necessary, a particular on site or by summons, any information and justification useful and necessary for the accomplishment of their mission. And they may access under condition preserving confidentiality. They may access under conditions preserving confidentiality with respect to third parties. The other conditions preserving confidentiality with respect to third parties. So they have access to computer programs and data. Computer programs and data, and request their transcription by any appropriate processing into documents directly usable for the needs of the control. Into documents directly usable for the needs of the control. So you can see the mission, the powers are large. If it's outside any on-site control, if it's outside any on-site control, they may carry out any useful findings. They may carry out any useful findings. They may, in particular from an online public communication service, they may, in particular from an online public communication service, consult freely accessible data. Or data made accessible, possibly by accessing and remaining, and automated data processing systems, possibly by accessing and remaining in automated data processing systems for the time necessary for the findings. And finally, about the outside and the on-site control, they may finally transcribe data. It may transcribe the data by any appropriate processing. They may transcribe the data by any appropriate processing into documents directly usable. They may transcribe the data by any appropriate processing into documents directly usable for the needs of the control. In important things in 1 minute, and we make a break, of course. Remember, don't worry, we do it, of course. Last point before the break is the question of the power to investigate, the temperament to the power of investigation. Temperament to the power of investigation. This is the question of the opposition of secrecy. The question of the opposition of secrecy to CNIL agents. From this point of view, by principle, secrecy cannot be opposed to them. In principle, secrecy cannot be opposed to them except concerning information covered. Secrecy cannot be opposed to them concerning information covered by professional secrecy. As the one between lawyer and client, as the one between lawyer and client, or by the secrecy of sources of journalistic processing, secrecy of sources of journalistic processing, or by medical secrecy. Okay, we'll make a break, and after seeing this first point, the internal oversight procedure, I will talk in about a few minutes about the formal notice. I said a few minutes, it's 16, maybe we can re-begin at 30, if you're okay. It's about 14 minutes break. Do you have a question? Sorry? I don't have heard you. Okay. If you have any question, I may take a break until 30. Okay? See you.
Yes, thank you, Pastor.
Okay, see you in a few minutes.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.
Đây là thế chứ được.
Rất tiền anh nhìn online vậy này.
Dạ, anh Tám Quang vì cha đông thôi nhỉ. Do bạn vì đông